Hey there, I'm Whitney Smith, and I'm here to answer some of the commonly asked questions that we get when it comes to private investigator or security guard training and licensing. So, we're actually going to go practically through the Ontario website and the portion of the security guards and private investigators area just to really show you some of the highlights of what this is about. So, here we go. So ultimately, the province of Ontario is the one who licenses under the Ministry of Solicitor General investigators and security guards. So we're just going to go through this overview, of what it is. So you have to obviously have an investigator or security guard license if you're going to work in Ontario as a security guard, private investigator individually, or you can also get what's called a dual license. So a lot of people will do that, for instance, if they're working on like labor disputes and different situations, maybe loss prevention. They're going to have moments where they maybe are working as a security guard in that uniform, and then they need to transition maybe because someone's sick or something like that. Or some people just like working both. They want to maybe work executive protection, counter surveillance. Kind of just depends. Ultimately, it does help having dual license because you're going to be a more sought after commodity, so to speak. And I don't want to say it like that because that doesn't sound good. But at the end of the day, for an employer, if you're duly licensed, if their company does need both of those services completed and you're able to do that and you're experienced on both, your chances of getting hired might just be greater, especially if you're going to have more experience / certifications under your belt. So once you receive your license, it is good for 2 years. So ultimately, the licensing is also very cheap when it comes to most professional industries that somebody could work in. Typically, you're going to see, minimum costs of several $100s, if not thousands of dollars. So, for private investigators, it's a 50-hour course. For security guards, it's 40 hours. And most of the training companies are $99 to $199 for the training. So relatively cheap. On top of your actual license fee, which we'll go through, you're getting into an industry essentially for under $500 that you're professional, you're licensed, certified, like that's pretty solid. So if you're, maybe young and you're looking to get into something or you're just wanting some, a side career, it's relatively cheap to get into. And ultimately, the license gives you, several years. So for one fee, you're able to work for a while. So you have to be at least 18 years old, entitled to work in Canada, and you have to have a clean criminal record. So they do have this section here where you can click to learn about that. Some people will say, let's say they're in their 50s or 60s or whatever age, and they'll say, when I was 18 years old, I got in trouble. So they list the different offenses here. You ultimately would have to find out what the potential offenses that you were charged with and what might or might not be something that they accept. You can also contact Ontario. Their number is going to be here at the bottom, as well as their email. And it's best to ultimately confirm with them before you go through all these steps, because you want to make sure that you're able to actually receive the license at the end of your training. So you also have to have what's called a criminal record and judicial matters check. So this is a CRJMC. They didn't used to do this. This is a fairly new requirement in the last few years. Today's March 13th, 2026. So ultimately, there's even newer changes about to come. The PSISA is under review for an update right now. So this video might seem old pretty soon because we're about to see some additional changes. But nonetheless, we want to make sure that while the existing PSISA and requirements are in place, that we're able to help you get some questions answered. So the CRJMC is basically the background check. The ministry, as part of your licensing, used to do that for you. Now they're putting that on you as the licensee to pay for that yourself. So we offer that same day. Most companies are able to offer that, within a couple days. Some take weeks. It really just depends. But you definitely need to have that. You have to complete the mandatory training, which we offer. So we offer that 40-hour security guard training and the 50-hour PI training. And then you're going to have to write the exam. So basically, 3-step process. Step 1 is you're going to take a training course, either in person or online, whichever you prefer, with an entity of your choice. Make sure they're compliant. There is a lot of non-compliant courses out there. So you do need to make sure that you do the course with the right provider. Ultimately, one of the fastest and easiest ways you can check is here on the ministry website. You can check to see who is legitimate or who is not. Another thing is they have to be able to prove that the modules are timed. So if you're given a PDF copy of something or anything that is not timed modules that is not compliant. And if they are audited and or you are audited through the ministry, they're going to make you redo the training. So just make sure you do it right the first time. You don't want to waste your time with somebody who's selling a course that's not compliant. So you basically you do the course. You write the exam, which you used to only do it at drive test centers. Now you can also do it online with a proctor, which is really convenient for people, especially who live in rural areas or, maybe just timing wise, they don't have the time to set up an appointment based on work schedules, family, things like that. So it is really convenient to be able to do that online now as well. And then your third one is applying for the license. So we're going to continue through here, but basically it's a pretty simple 3-step process. And realistically, obviously it depends on your schedule and how much time you have and when you're doing the exam and licensing and how fast those steps go. But realistically, some people can get from the start to the finish within a couple weeks if they're quick with it. So if you're looking to start a project maybe that you're being hired for, then you can ultimately go through things quickly if you're very efficient with your time. When you submit your application, you're going to have that, your testing completion number, your TCN, which is something that we issue you when you complete. You're going to have to, fill out all the forms, have that passport style photo. So ultimately, you can follow all of this, when it comes to actually submitting the application, which you can do so by mail or online. So it gives the options here. How to apply online, you would simply just click there and you would follow the steps, and or by mail. Same thing, you would just follow these steps, sending it to Service Ontario. If you have to change any information, here's all the details. Ultimately, most people aren't having to change anything, but if maybe you spelt your name wrong or you put in your date of birth incorrectly or something like that, then you can reach out and get that changed either by online or by mail. And then the same thing with the changing the license type. So ultimately, we mentioned earlier that individual license versus the dual license. So you might start with just a PI license or just a security license, and then you want to ultimately get into dual. So it would be the same thing going in either online or by mail, and you would just change your license type. So you would just have to show that you have your training completion number from both of those courses, and then they'll ultimately charge you this $80 fee or the $160 for both licenses, and you're good to go. Returned applications, you're ultimately, they would send you an email if something didn't add up. Maybe your name wasn't spelled right, address wasn't connecting properly, some sort of an issue, your certificate of completion wasn't proper, something like that. They would ultimately send you that and you would know what to do. The photo requirements, basically passport size photo. So it gives you all of that there. So you have your acceptable documents here, basically for, verification. So pretty straightforward, pretty easy. Just follow all of these to know what you're able to submit. It's going to ultimately tell you the unacceptable ones. We find a lot of people try and submit their health card. Don't just follow the steps here. Make sure you go through it, and all the other cards. It's ultimately just not going to get you where you need to go in terms of licensing. So if you want to do things quickly, just make sure you follow all these steps and you're seeing what you have to have and or cannot use. So there's, again, that criminal record and judicial matters check. We do offer them. They're $59.99. It's a same day service, and whether you took your training with us or not, you can still purchase your CRJMC with us. Declaration of offenses, notice of collection, and contact information. So ultimately, if you have any questions, you can certainly throw a comment and we can answer it. You can give us a call and we can help you out, if you need some assistance on any of this. But it is pretty straightforward. And again, if you had any sort of criminal history, any arrest problems, convictions, and you want to hear from the ministry directly, because we can't tell you eligibility. We're not the licensee. We just offer training. You would want to give them a call and just double check with them what you're able to do. So hope that helped out.